Sebastian disappeared in February last year. He was just 15 years old. Initial search efforts involved local police, the TBI, and the FBI. But those physical searches have since shifted to focus on the investigative side. The last press conference on the case was more than a year ago.
I do believe that they have something of him. Listen, I'll be honest with you. We have something from after midnight of a person we can't identify. I don't know if it's him. I'm not starting to remember, but so I think they might be in the same situation where.
And also, look, she has a son that's hiding and waiting for somebody in the dark, late night on the 25th. And there needs to be some explaining for that. I'll just leave it at that.
We start with breaking news tonight. Newly released surveillance video in the search for Sebastian Rogers, taken the night he disappeared nearly 1 year ago. Let's bring up this video here in full so you can really see it. Take a look. This is from Kellen Lane in the Shackle Island neighborhood out in Sumner County. It's 1 block from...
Welcome, Mob Crew family. Today's video is exposing one of the biggest deceptions, lies, and cons that I have ever seen happen in a missing persons case. Before I continue, I must say that everything I'm going to present to you is all alleged and only for entertainment purposes. But if you follow my channel, you know what I'm about to present will be based on close sources, personal data, security footage, and inside knowledge of the Sebastian Rogers case. I call this disgusting act the 1-year anniversary con. What I'm about to present is truly one of the most disturbing acts I've ever seen done by a private investigator who was allegedly hired by the Proud Feet. Let's get started. This is the last known sighting of Sebastian Rogers. His mother, Katie, allegedly took him home after eating at this Texas Roadhouse restaurant on the 25th. On the morning of February 26th of 2024, he would disappear sometime between this sighting and the following morning. This case would garner a massive following due to how it seems Sebastian Rogers just disappeared into thin air. Although the Proud Feet claimed he likely ran away, something in this case just felt off. As months passed by, the case began to grow cold. Many PIs were working on this case, but it appeared they were hitting a roadblock. Then a well-known and controversial PI, who we'll call Steve Fish Sticks, would slowly begin to insert himself into this case. Fish Sticks is a well-known PI who has helped find missing persons in the past. As someone who has worked on missing persons cases myself, I did know of and had respect for Fish Sticks, but that would all change. Here is a tweet made by Steve before he was allegedly hired. Notice how he attacks Seth Rogers, the father of Sebastian, claiming he is detrimental to the case because he revealed some disturbing details that happened to poor Sebastian. He then suggests that the Proud Feet should hire a top-tier private investigator. I wondered who they would eventually hire, allegedly, of course. But the most important thing I want to point out in this long tweet is what he says towards the end. Steve then claims that this new top investigator should be collaborating with local, state, and federal law enforcement and search and rescue. And even he claims this investigator should not be interacting with YouTube. Keep this in mind, as everything he claims in this post will become all lies and eventually turn into one of the most disturbing acts committed by family members and a PI ever in a missing persons case. Part 2. Sebastian Rogers was allegedly seen taking out the trash just after they came home from the Roadhouse. This footage from the Ring camera that faces towards the front of the Proud Feet home has never been released. Steve would have an interesting conversation with former PIs who were working on the case. Let's listen to what he says about that footage and the future of this investigation.
And let's be honest. I mean, because we need to find out what happened. I mean, if Sebastian didn't take that trash out, there's a problem, right?
Yeah,
so,
right.
Listen, I'm just being honest. Everybody thinks I'm protecting you. I'm not. I want this case to break, and I want it to be over, and I want him to be found. I want to see that video. I'll listen, but I'm going to just tell everybody I'm never going to see it. TBI is never going to.
Right.
So, but I wish they would, or show it to the public, or do something, because it literally, I think that video is the case.
That is Fish Sticks literally claiming that there should be some kind of transparency in this case with law enforcement when it comes to certain footage that the public could help with in this case. Also notice how the former PIs are unsure about whether that footage actually showed Sebastian, as it is rumored that you can only see a blob taking out the trash. Part 3. Fish Sticks is hired.
So who was paying you or is paying you?
Well, I don't want to disclose that, but I'm retained. I'll tell you that Chris and Katie are the signers on the engagement letter and retainer agreement, and but it's on behalf of. I'm working on behalf of Sebastian. I am not. My client is Sebastian, and they're the guardians that have the ability to sign.
Fish Sticks would be hired sometime in November of 2024, and after that, it was pure deception, lies, and hypocrisy. Here is a perfect example of those claims.
So no, am I working side by side with law enforcement in this case? No, and I'm not trying to either. I don't reach out to them. They don't reach out to me. They 100% know I'm there. We gave them formal indication, and they responded back, and they said he's welcome on the case, and that was it.
Already, Fish Sticks admits he is not talking and or sharing his findings with law enforcement, which literally contradicts what he claimed in the tweet before. Not only that, but he is clearly all over different YouTube channels. Even though this hypocrisy is crazy, this is nothing compared to what he and his clients would do in the coming months leading up to the 1-year anniversary. Part 4. The footage. Steve Fish Sticks would go around the neighborhood collecting what footage was saved by the owners. He would also try and interview each of the neighbors to see what they had to say about that night. But because one neighbor felt he wasn't being honest about his true intentions, he and his clients would do something so horrific to this family, as he would literally use footage the public had not seen yet and make the most disgusting claim, which I will prove was a complete lie. This act was clearly done in retaliation because he and his clients are petty and clearly had no intentions to find Sebastian. Now, before I play the clip, keep in mind the footage from a certain home that Fish Sticks talks about is the same footage I have, so keep that in mind when he makes up the most disturbing claim involving the neighbor that did not want to speak to him.
Listen, like I said, I've got over 100 hours of surveillance footage now from that neighborhood, and that's because I went and talked to neighbors, and every single one of them, every single one, welcomed me. And if they had video surveillance, they gave it to me. The only person that would not talk to me as the only person that had something to hide and wouldn't talk to me. Video surveillance of the whole neighborhood. I can watch that whole search going on. I can see the whole construction site. I can see down Kellen. I can see up Kellen. I can see in her yard. Does not line up with what she said. And also, she has a son that's hiding and waiting for somebody in the dark, late night on the 25th. And there needs to be some explaining for that. I'll just leave it at that. So I don't want that to get lost in this whole debacle.
Now, if you're wondering what clip he was talking about, don't worry, as I will show it here at the end, and I'm sure you will even recognize that clip, as this piece of shit is actually trying to claim the neighbor's son was allegedly doing something suspicious the night Rogers went missing. Now, keep in mind, it's still over a month away from the anniversary of Sebastian Rogers' disappearance. And here is another interview that will come full circle as Fish Sticks talks about having potential footage of Sebastian Rogers.
In the last week, I do believe that they have something of him. Listen, I'll be honest with you. We have something from after midnight of a person we can't identify. I don't know if it's him. I'm not starting to remember, but so I think they might be in the same situation where there might be other cameras that we don't know about.
Both vehicles in any of the footage.
I do want to get to that in just a second. There's just one last thing I wanted to clarify with this video you're talking about, which I assume if it becomes relevant for the public to know, you would release it, right?
So, not necessarily, because listen, I can bring that up and say, listen, this things that there's maybe some hope or something, but that's something that is for investigators, law enforcement, private investigators on the case. The public's not entitled to that. There's no reason to give that, because what happens is, look what happened.
So this interview took place on January 20th of 2025, literally a month away from the 1-year anniversary of Rogers' disappearance. And Fish Sticks is mentioning he has footage that he is allegedly claiming could be Sebastian Rogers. But when asked about sharing it to the public, he then makes up a bunch of bullshit and literally contradicts his previous statements about being transparent and sharing leads with law enforcement.
I'm not. I want this case to break, and I want it to be over, and I want him to be found. I want to see that video. I'll listen, but I'm going to just tell everybody I'm never going to see it. TBI is never going to.
Right.
So, but I wish they would, or show it to the public, or do something, because it literally, I think that video is the case. I wish they would, or show it to the public, or do something.
Private investigators on the case. The public's not entitled to that. There's no reason to give that, because what happens is.
Part 5, the 1-year anniversary con. Just before the anniversary, where Katie and Chris Proudfeet would finally make an appearance in regards to Sebastian Rogers, Fish Sticks with his clients sent over footage to local news stations just a few days before the 1-year anniversary. He specifically wanted them to hold on to this footage until the actual anniversary, but because these news outlets were thinking, just like most normal humans that have an actual soul, that this should be released immediately, as if what Fish Sticks was claiming were potentially true, this information should be released to the public. Here are some clips of news outlets claiming there could be a big break in the case. Then we'll reveal the true motives and what Fish Sticks claimed was a huge con and a lie.
We start with breaking news tonight. Newly released surveillance video in the search for Sebastian Rogers, taken the night he disappeared nearly 1 year ago. Let's bring up this video here in full so you can really see it. Take a look. This is from Kellen Lane in the Shackle Island neighborhood out in Sumner County.
Video that the family of Sebastian Rogers believes could be a break in the case. Sebastian has been missing almost 1 year now. His mother and stepfather, so that's Katie and Chris Proudfoot, have hired a private investigator to look into this case. And he has been scouring hundreds of hours of surveillance video. He says he has found video that could really be something. It could possibly, he says, it could be Sebastian. He says this is video that you, the public, have never seen. And it's video that shows someone, a person, wearing dark clothing precisely at 12:17 a.m. This is the night that Sebastian is missing. It shows this person who comes out in the neighborhood and then hides behind a vehicle when a person walking a dog walks nearby and then comes back out. So now they're trying to identify that person. Again, they feel this is a break in the case and it's video that you, the public, have never seen.
Yes, this was the footage released by Fish Sticks and his clients. Notice how this reporter claims that there is a person walking his dog and another person hiding behind the car until the person walking the dog goes back the way he came. Notice she is reading notes likely taken from Fish Sticks about what is seen in this clip. Before I explain what is really going on in this clip, as I will say right now, no, there is not two people in the clip. It is literally one man walking his dog to the vehicle, then turning around. But remember how the reporter claimed that someone was hiding behind the car.
Who comes out in the neighborhood and then hides behind a vehicle when a person walking a dog walks nearby and then comes back out.
So, she has a son that's hiding and waiting for somebody in the dark late night on the 25th, and there needs to be some explaining for that. I'll just leave it at that. So
yep, that's right. This piece of shit and his piece of shit clients literally tried to blame a neighbor's child by claiming he was hiding behind a car, literally putting a mother's child in danger by claiming her son could have been involved in Sebastian's disappearance. The clip that Fish Sticks was referring to was this very same clip. Yes, the same one he mentioned multiple times. They were all just the same clip he had for months, and now I'm going to expose the most disgusting con ever pulled by this heartless PI and his soulless clients, by revealing how they knew this clip was not Sebastian Rogers right from the start. Part 6, exposing the truth behind the disturbing lies and the con artists who fabricated this disgusting story to make it seem like they were actually trying to help solve this case. Before I expose the truth, I just wanted to add, just in case if you didn't know, literally after this clip was released, law enforcement quickly responded by saying it was not Sebastian Rogers. I wonder why Fish Sticks and his clients were so upset when the news outlets didn't wait until the interviews with the Proudfeet came out. Almost like they knew it was all horseshit. So I literally have the same footage as fish sticks, so I'll explain how this surveillance works, as it records 24/7 and also records any motion detected by the camera. And those clips, called events that are triggered by motion, began to save in a specific folder, and they are basically placed in a chronological order with folders that have the date, time, and more. This is an example of how it would look. Each time an event is recorded, it creates a folder and they get put in order. So if I looked at the clip at 12:17 a.m., I can see the events that happened before or after. So when I look at the folder before the clip shared by Fish Sticks team, I can see an event that happened minutes before the one they released. And guess what? It looks like a person coming out of their home and began to walk their dog. Now, because they walk up Devon Court first, this clip ends, but then when the same guy walking his dog comes down Kellen Avenue, we can see the next event recorded. Yep, the same one that Fish Sticks team released. Now, not only would they have known this, but let's just say they're not the brightest crayon in the box. As you can see, when the neighbor on Devon begins to walk his dog, his front porch light comes on in the first clip. Then in the clip that Fish Sticks and his team of morons released, you can clearly see that this guy still has his front porch light on. It's safe to say that this is the same person walking their dog. Just in case you couldn't think this team could be any more stupid and corrupt, if you continue looking forward in the folders, you will see that same guy walking his dog that very next morning, taking the same exact route. Allegedly, in my opinion, this entire team of Fish Sticks and the Stink Feet knew they had an absolute nothing burger, but yet still tried to pass it off as a big break in the case. That is why they waited months for the anniversary to release this garbage and fool the public into thinking they actually care. Ask yourself, would innocent people conduct such a con this disgusting? Please share this video, please hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel, and if this video gets enough likes and views, I will do another follow-up with more disturbing acts and details I know that happened in this case. Also, please make sure your heart rate on your Apple Watch isn't elevated, and thank you for watching.